What would you do if your new teacher didn't seem quite human? That's what I asked myself during the first week of school. I had always thought teachers were boring, but something strange happened that year. Something I couldn't explain. My name is Emma Harris. I'm 17 years old, and I live in a small town called Maplewood. It's close to the hills and has quiet streets and tall trees. I live with my parents and my dog, Max. I love painting and listening to old jazz music. I go to Riverdale High School, and I want to become a vet one day. I care a lot about animals, and Max is like my little brother. The first day of school felt exciting. A new school year, new teachers, maybe even some new students. I met my best friend Mia at the corner. She lives just a few houses away, and we always walk to school together. I hope we get a teacher who's young and fun this year, she said. Or at least not boring. I laughed and nodded. Let's see what surprises this year brings. When we walked into our classroom, a young man was already there. Good morning, everyone. I'm your new biology teacher. My name is Mr. Morgan, he said with a bright smile. He was tall, with short brown hair and light blue eyes. His voice was calm and friendly. Mia leaned toward me and whispered, "He's definitely not boring." I agreed, and I felt something strange when he looked at me. It was not bad. It was just different. The class continued like normal, but something happened that felt unusual. We heard a loud sound, and everyone looked outside. A plane was flying by, and the sun was very bright. Most of us turned away. The light hurt our eyes, but Mr. Morgan stood at the window and looked straight at the sun like it didn't bother him at all. I watched him quietly. How could he do that? Later that day, we had English class. The new teacher was already inside when we entered. He was not like Mr. Morgan. He had dark hair and wore black glasses. His face was serious. "I'm Mr. Hayes," he said without a smile. "Please sit quietly. I don't allow talking during my class." His voice didn't sound normal. It was flat, with no feeling. Cold, even. Some students looked around, confused. I felt a little nervous. I had never heard a voice like that before. Mr. Hayes read us a short story, but it sounded strange when he spoke. He read like a robot. No emotion, no rhythm, just flat words. Mia gave me a look and raised her eyebrows. I shrugged. Something didn't feel right about him. At lunch, Mia and I sat with our friend Oliver. He was quiet and liked to read about space. His parents had recently separated, and he lived with his dad and their pet rabbit, Nimbus. "What do you think about the new teachers?" I asked. Mia smiled and said, "Mr. Morgan is cute." Oliver didn't laugh. He looked serious. Mr. Morgan stared at the sun without blinking. "That's not normal." I nodded. "And Mr. Hayes, he sounds like a machine," I said. Mia laughed, but Oliver looked thoughtful. That's when he pointed across the cafeteria. Mr. Hayes sat alone at the teacher's table. He had a glass of thick green liquid in front of him. He also held 2 dark tablets in his hand. He dropped them into the drink, and it began to bubble. The green turned red. Then, without even making a face, he drank the strange mix. I turned to Oliver. He looked pale. Mia tried to laugh. "Maybe it's a new kind of diet," she said. "Maybe he's just into healthy drinks." But her voice didn't sound sure. I wasn't sure either. If you enjoy stories like this that mix mystery and real life, please don't forget to subscribe, like, and comment below. Let us know. What would you do if your teacher started acting like a robot? The next day, things got even stranger. We had English again, and Mr. Hayes asked each of us to speak about ourselves. "What are your hobbies? Tell the class," he said with that same cold tone. When it was Oliver's turn, he said, "I like astronomy. I enjoy watching the stars." Mr. Hayes didn't react. He simply nodded and moved on to the next student. I kept watching him. Something about him was different. That day, I noticed his eyes. Yesterday, they looked green. Today, they were amber, almost yellow. I stared at them for a few seconds. Was I imagining it? I raised my hand and asked to go to the bathroom. As I walked past his desk, I looked again. Yes, his eyes had changed. That night, I couldn't stop thinking about it. I picked up my phone and called Oliver. "Do you believe in aliens?" I asked. There was silence. Then he answered, "Maybe." "Why?" I told him everything, the eyes, the voice, the drink. He listened. Then he said something that gave me chills. "Maybe he's not from here." That night, I couldn't sleep. I lay in bed staring at the ceiling, thinking about Mr. Hayes, the way he looked at us, the way his eyes changed color, the strange drink, his flat, robotic voice. Something about him didn't feel human. And if I was honest with myself, I wasn't just scared. I was curious too. The next morning, I met Mia at the corner. "You look tired," she said. "Didn't sleep?" I shook my head. I kept thinking about Mr. Hayes. "Mia, I think he's hiding something." She rolled her eyes. Maybe he's just a strange guy. Some people are like that." I didn't answer, but I felt that I had to find out the truth. At school, I told Oliver what I was thinking. We sat together in the library, away from the noise of the cafeteria. "I want to know who he really is," I said. Oliver nodded. "Me too. But how?" We looked at each other, and I knew we were both thinking the same thing. "We follow him," I said. Oliver looked surprised. "After school?" I nodded. "We follow him. We see where he goes. Maybe we find something." He thought for a second, then said, "All right, but we need to be careful." That afternoon, we stayed behind after the last bell. We hid behind the trees near the teacher's parking area. Most of the teachers left quickly, chatting as they walked to their cars. But Mr. Hayes came out alone, walking slowly with his bag in one hand and a long black coat over his arm. He looked around once before heading down the road. We followed him at a distance. He walked through the neighborhood and into a quiet street with small houses and tall fences. Finally, he stopped at a light blue house with no curtains. He unlocked the door and stepped inside. We waited for a few minutes. Then Oliver whispered, "Let's get closer." We crept along the side of the house, hearts racing. There was a small window with a clear view into what looked like a living room. Mr. Hayes put his bag down and walked to the kitchen. We couldn't hear anything, but we could see him take out the same green liquid and pour it into a tall glass. He added something to it. Again, it changed color. Red. Then he did something unexpected. He walked over to the window where we were hiding. We jumped back, holding our breath. But he didn't see us. He stood in front of a large mirror and touched his face. Slowly, he pulled something off. It was his skin. I gasped. Oliver grabbed my arm. "Don't make a sound," he whispered. But I couldn't look away. Under the fake skin was a green face. Smooth, shiny, with no hair, no ears, just two red eyes that blinked slowly. I suddenly felt sick. "We have to go," I said. We ran all the way back to my house without speaking. When we finally stopped, Oliver sat down on my porch and said, "He's not human." "I know," I whispered. "He's something else." We didn't go back to school the next day. Instead, we met in the park to talk about what we had seen. "If he's an alien, what does he want?" Oliver asked. "Why is he at our school?" "I don't know," I said. "But I think he's watching us. Maybe he wants to study us." Oliver nodded. "Or worse, maybe he's planning something. We needed help, but who would believe us? Our parents would think we were joking. The police? They'd laugh. So we decided to tell Mia. Mia didn't believe us at first. "You saw what? Green skin?" She looked at us like we were crazy. But when she saw how serious we were, her smile faded. "Okay. Let's say it's true. What do we do?" "We need proof," I said. "Real proof. Something we can show people. And we need to stop him," Oliver added. "If he's dangerous." Mia crossed her arms. "So what's the plan?" That afternoon, we broke into the science lab. The school was closed, but Mia had taken her older brother's spare keys. He used to help with the school's maintenance, and the keys still worked. The science lab was dark and cold. We turned on our phone lights and looked around. We opened cabinets and drawers, but nothing looked unusual until we opened the small fridge at the back of the room. Inside, there was a canister. It was made of shiny metal and had a black lid. There was no label. "Do you think this is it?" Mia asked. "Only one way to find out," Oliver said. He picked it up and shook it. It made a soft clicking noise. Suddenly, we heard a sound outside the lab. A door closing. Someone was inside the school. "Hide!" I whispered. We all ducked behind the big desk in the middle of the room. Footsteps came closer. The door opened and someone walked in. We held our breath. It was Mr. Hayes. He walked in slowly and opened the fridge. When he saw the canister was gone, he froze. Then he turned around and looked straight at the desk. My heart was beating so fast I thought he could hear it. But then he walked out. We waited a few minutes, then carefully left the lab through the back door. Once we were out, we ran all the way to Oliver's house. There, we opened the canister. It was full of a soft, misty spray. Oliver suggested we test it on something harmless, so we tried it on Max, my dog. Normally, Max hates being brushed. He always runs away. But when we sprayed a little near him and called him over, he came and sat down calmly, even when I brushed him. "It works," I said. "It's some kind of control spray," Oliver whispered. That evening, I couldn't stop thinking about Mr. Hayes. What was his real name? What planet was he from? And why did he need a spray to control us? The next day at school, he acted normal. Too normal. He taught class with the same cold voice, asked questions and gave homework. But I noticed he was watching us more than usual, especially Oliver and me. That night, Oliver called me. "Emma," he said, "I want to go with him." "What?" "I want to go with him. To his planet." "Are you serious?" "Yes. Think about it. I've always felt like I didn't belong here. Maybe this is my chance to start over. I want to see what's out there." I didn't know what to say. I felt like crying. "But we don't even know if he's safe." "I know, but I have to try." I sat on my bed, holding the phone tightly. "If that's what you want, I won't stop you." "Thank you," he said. "I'll miss you." The next day, we learned the school had a parent-teacher night coming up on Friday. We knew that would be the moment. Mr. Hayes would try to take 2 students while the parents were busy. That's when he would use the spray. But he didn't know we had it. We came up with a plan. We would return the canister, empty. We would pretend nothing happened. That way he wouldn't suspect us. Then, when he tried to use it, it wouldn't work. And Oliver, well, he would be there, ready. Friday night came. The school was full of parents, students, and teachers. I walked in with my mom and dad trying to act normal. I saw Mr. Hayes standing near the gym. He looked at Oliver. Oliver gave him a small nod. Then the 2 of them walked away. I followed, slowly and quietly, staying behind the hallway corner. They entered the science lab. I peeked in through the small glass window. Mr. Hayes opened the fridge. He pulled out the canister and tried to spray Oliver, but nothing came out. He looked confused. Then he looked sad. Oliver stepped forward. "I know everything," he said.
I want to go with you.
Mr. Hayes looked shocked.
You do?
Yes.
I want to know more about your world, about everything.
Mr. Hayes didn't speak for a moment. Then he said,
The ship leaves in 10 minutes. We must go.
I ran back to the main hall and found Mia. He's leaving. Now. We left the meeting quietly and followed them to the old airfield near school. The sky was dark and the wind was cold, but we could see lights in the distance, blue, blinking lights that moved in a circle. Then a shape appeared in the sky. A large silver object, quiet and smooth, came down from the clouds. It landed softly. The door opened. Mr. Hayes and Oliver stood near the ship. I wanted to shout, to stop them, but I didn't. Oliver turned to look at me. He smiled and waved. Then he stepped inside. The door closed. The ship lifted off. And just like that, they were gone. That night, I couldn't sleep. I stared at the sky from my bedroom window, watching for anything, any light, any sign, any sound. But there was nothing. Just the silence of the stars above. My thoughts were full of Oliver. I remembered the way he smiled at me one last time before walking into that spaceship. The wave, the quiet understanding between us. He wasn't just leaving town or moving to another school. He had gone to another world. I whispered his name into the darkness and hoped he could somehow hear me. Even though he had chosen to leave, I felt like something inside me had been taken. It was strange how someone could still feel so close and so far away at the same time. The next morning, everything felt unreal. I sat at the breakfast table with my parents, who talked about the parent-teacher meeting like it was a normal night. They had no idea what had really happened. No one did. Only Mia and I knew the truth. And even she seemed unsure whether it had all been real. School, people talked about how Mr. Hayes had suddenly left. They said he had a family emergency and had moved away without warning. A new science teacher would be coming next week. No one asked too many questions. Teachers come and go. But to me, the empty space in the classroom was louder than any voice. Every time I looked at that empty chair, I remembered Oliver's words. "You will see me again." Mia and I tried to act normal, but we often found ourselves staring into space, remembering the adventure we'd just lived through. It wasn't just about aliens or secret missions. It was about fear, courage, friendship, and choices. Sometimes I'd sit alone in the park, watching the trees move in the wind, and wonder if Oliver had reached that other planet safely. Was he happy? Was he scared? Did he ever think of us the way we thought of him? I knew I would never get answers to those questions, but still, I kept asking them in my mind. One afternoon, a week after the spaceship had left, I received a small package at my door. There was no name on it, just my address written in neat, straight letters. I opened the package carefully. Inside was a folded note and something wrapped in soft cloth. The note said,
Emma, I'm okay. Thank you for believing in me. The stars are not so far when you remember someone. Oh. My heart jumped. The handwriting was his. I knew it. I unwrapped the cloth and found a small object inside. It was a silver pendant in the shape of a star. It wasn't something I had seen before. It looked handmade, smooth and simple, but with a strange light that seemed to move across the surface as I turned it. I held it in my hand for a long time, smiling and crying at the same time. He was safe. He remembered me. Somehow, from another world, Oliver had found a way to reach me. I wore the pendant every day after that. It was my secret reminder of everything we'd been through. Mia and I talked about it in private, but we never told anyone else. People already thought we were strange enough. We promised each other that we'd keep the story safe, just between us and the stars. Sometimes, late at night, we would walk together to the old airfield, sit on the grass, and look up at the sky. We didn't expect the spaceship to come back, but it made us feel closer to him, like maybe, just maybe, he was looking at the same stars from wherever he was. One day, Mia said something I'll never forget. You know, she said, maybe Oliver didn't leave us. Maybe he found the place he was always meant to be, and we were lucky enough to be part of his story. I smiled because I understood. We weren't just his friends. We were the reason he could make that choice. He had gone to find something better, and even though it hurt, we had helped him get there. That kind of friendship doesn't disappear. It changes you. It stays inside your heart like a quiet song. Months passed. School moved on. A new science teacher came, and the days began to feel normal again. But I wasn't the same. I had grown in a way that was hard to explain. I had faced fear. I had believed in something others would call impossible. And I had said goodbye to someone I loved. Not forever, but without knowing when or if I would see him again. That kind of goodbye is heavy, but it also makes you strong. It teaches you how to love without holding too tightly. It shows you how to keep someone close, even when they are far away. Sometimes I dream of Oliver. In my dreams, we walk together under two suns, or we fly through the stars, laughing like nothing can ever hurt us. Maybe those dreams are just dreams. Or maybe, somehow, they are messages. I like to believe they are both. Because even if he never comes back, I'll always know that I was part of something amazing. Something bigger than myself. A story that no one else will ever fully understand. The silver star still hangs around my neck. Every time I touch it, I remember the boy who didn't belong and the girl who followed her heart. And I smile, because somewhere out there, in a place with skies we've never seen, he is living the life he chose. He is free. And I am here, telling our story,